All right, so today we're diving into a book that really kind of shook things up.
Yeah,
Simone de Beauvoir's The Second Sex.
absolutely.
Giving us some excerpts, and
Yeah.
it's clear why this 1949 work is considered like just foundational to uh, second wave feminism.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's incredible how, even after all these years,
Yeah.
Beauvoir's insights into what it means to be a woman
Right.
in a world that's largely been shaped by men still resonates so deeply.
Yeah, it's like she cracked open the code of like societal expectations.
Yeah,
Right.
totally.
So in this deep dive, we're going to
Yeah.
unpack some of Beauvoir's
Okay.
most powerful arguments.
All right.
And trust me, there are plenty.
I believe you.
We'll explore how those arguments still manifest in today's world. And
Yeah.
hopefully you'll come away with some aha moments and a
Sure.
deeper understanding of your own experiences.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so let's start with one of Beauvoir's most impactful concepts, woman as other. She argues that throughout history,
Yeah.
man has been considered the default,
Okay.
the subject,
Uh-huh.
the one who takes action.
Right.
And woman, well, she's relegated to the role of the object, the other.
It's like the whole world's been built with, like, man as the blueprint. And women are just constantly trying to figure out where they fit in
Yeah.
to that pre-designed structure. And it's not even just about labels. It's about power dynamics
Yes.
and how those dynamics shape everything from our institutions
Absolutely.
to, even our personal relationships.
Right, and Beauvoir doesn't just throw this idea out there.
Right.
She backs it up with some seriously sharp analysis.
Yeah.
For example, she dissects myths and literature,
Okay.
showing how women are often portrayed as these mysterious, almost mythical creatures.
Right, like think about those classic tropes.
Yeah.
The femme fatale, the all-knowing sorceress, the
Right.
innocent maiden. They all play into this idea of women being fundamentally different from men, something to be
Yeah.
feared or controlled, but never fully understood.
It's interesting because you still see those tropes playing out
Oh, absolutely.
in contemporary media,
Yeah,
like the manic pixie dream girl, for example.
for sure.
It's like we haven't quite shaken off
Right.
this ancient narrative
Totally.
of woman as other.
Totally. And that's where it gets really fascinating.
Yeah.
And a little unsettling because even though things have undeniably changed since 1949,
Right.
traces of this otherness
Mm-hmm.
still linger in our society,
Okay.
sometimes in very subtle ways.
Give me an example.
Okay.
How does this otherness
Yeah.
manifest in our everyday lives?
I mean, think about the double standards
Okay.
women face.
Yeah.
Like, we're often judged
Uh-huh.
more harshly for our appearance,
Mm-hmm.
for our emotions, or even, our ambition. It's like there's this unspoken expectation that women should be agreeable, nurturing,
Right.
and never too assertive.
It's like we're still operating under this ancient script
Totally.
where men are the protagonists
Yeah.
and women are the supporting characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Beauvoir argues
Right.
that it doesn't have to be this way.
Right.
She vehemently insists
Yeah.
that biology is not destiny.
This is where Beauvoir really turns
Yeah.
traditional thinking on its head.
Yeah.
She tackles this, like, age-old notion
Hmm.
that women are inherently passive or
Yeah.
emotional,
Right.
simply because of their biology.
Hmm.
And she dismantles those arguments piece by piece,
Mhm.
arguing instead that it's upbringing, it's
Yeah.
culture, and it's societal expectations that
Uh-huh.
truly shape us.
It's like she's saying we're not born into these predefined roles.
Exactly.
We're molded into them by the world around us.
Think about it this way. Like, what's considered feminine in one culture
Yeah.
might be seen as completely different. Even the opposite in another. If biology were truly destiny, then wouldn't those expressions of femininity be more universal?
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
It makes you realize how much of what we consider natural
Right.
about gender roles
Mhm.
is actually just a product of our specific cultural moment.
Exactly.
Which brings us to another fascinating concept that Beauvoir dissects,
Okay.
the myth of the eternal feminine.
This is where Beauvoir really digs deep,
Oh, yeah.
challenging the idea that there's some unchanging essence of womanhood
Right.
that exists across time and cultures.
Mm.
This notion that, certain traits like being nurturing or
And-
emotional
Yeah.
are inherently feminine regardless of context.
So she's saying that what we consider feminine isn't fixed.
Exactly.
It's a fluid concept that's been shaped and reshaped
Yeah,
by societal forces throughout history.
totally.
Okay, so that makes me wonder if these ideas about femininity
Right.
aren't rooted in biology.
Yeah.
Then where do they come from?
Well, that's a great question.
Why are women so often defined in these narrow, limiting ways?
That's where things get really interesting.
Oh.
And this is a point that, still resonates today.
Okay.
Beauvoir argues that these conceptions of femininity are actually constructed and enforced by patriarchal societies
Okay.
as a way to maintain male dominance.
Wait, so you're saying it's all about power?
In a way, yeah, by creating this idea of an eternal feminine,
Okay.
patriarchal societies define women in terms of their relationship to men
Right.
and their presumed biological destiny, which effectively limits their options and keeps them in a subordinate position.
Yeah.
It's like saying, this is what a woman is,
Right.
and therefore this is what she should do.
So how do we break free from that?
That's the big question.
If it's so ingrained in our culture, how do we even begin to challenge
Right.
these deeply rooted assumptions about what it means to be a woman?
Well, Beauvoir doesn't just diagnose the problem.
Right.
She offers a powerful vision for a different future.
Okay.
A future where women can transcend these limitations.
Right.
And that's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive.
All right. Cliffhanger.
Yeah,
I'm already hooked.
I hope so.
Okay, so we left off
Yeah.
on a bit of a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
We've been unpacking Simone de Beauvoir's critique of woman as other
Right.
and this myth of the eternal feminine.
Yeah.
But where does she see a way out?
Yeah.
What's her vision for breaking free
Right.
from these limiting expectations?
Well, one of the key things
Yeah.
that struck me while rereading The Second Sex is
Yeah.
how Beauvoir addresses the concept of time.
Okay.
It might seem like an
Yeah,
odd topic at first,
Sure.
but she brilliantly connects it to
I'm intrigued.
the female experience.
Okay, tell me more.
So Beauvoir argues that men
Yeah.
often experience time as linear, a path towards achievement and progress. It's all about building a legacy,
Right.
making a mark on the world.
Yeah.
But for women, especially those confined to domestic roles,
Right.
time can feel cyclical and repetitive.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
It's the difference between striving for that big promotion
Right.
and feeling stuck in the endless cycle of like
Totally.
laundry, dishes, meal prep, like
Yeah.
you're just running on a hamster wheel day after day.
Exactly. And that difference in how time is experienced
Yeah.
can have a profound impact on a woman's
Right.
sense of purpose and self-worth.
Mm.
So it's no wonder
Yeah.
so many women feel frustrated or even like invisible.
It's like their contributions are seen as less valuable.
Right.
Simply because they don't fit into that
Exactly.
traditional linear model of achievement.
Yeah.
Even today, there's this pressure on women to be
Right.
the perfect homemakers, the perfect mothers, while also juggling careers
Yeah.
and personal ambition.
Totally.
It's exhausting.
It is. And it can be hard to reconcile
Right.
those two realities.
Yeah.
But Beauvoir doesn't leave us hanging.
Okay.
She offers a path to liberation,
Okay.
a way to reclaim our time
Okay, I'm all ears.
and our sense of purpose.
What's the antidote to this time trap?
So for Beauvoir, it's about finding meaningful work.
Okay.
Work that allows women to use their talents to contribute to the world
Right.
and to break free from those societal expectations
Yeah.
that confine them to the domestic sphere.
So it's not just about economic independence. It's
Yeah.
about finding work that's personally fulfilling.
Right.
Work that lets us express our creativity
Totally.
and intelligence.
Yeah.
It's about having a voice and making a difference.
Exactly. She believed that meaningful work could be a source of empowerment
Right.
and self-discovery for women,
Yeah.
a way to transcend
Right.
those limiting societal roles.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like she's saying, go out there,
Yeah.
find your passion, and make your mark on the world.
Exactly.
But what does that look like in practice?
Right.
I mean, it's one thing to talk about finding meaningful work,
Right.
but how do we actually make that happen in a world
Yeah.
where so many women are still struggling for basic equality.
Well, this is where Beauvoir's ideas
Okay.
about economic independence and freedom of choice come into play.
Okay.
She argues that women need both
Huh.
the financial security to pursue their goals
Right.
and the agency to make decisions about their own lives without being dictated by, societal pressures.
So it's about dismantling those systems.
Right.
That keep women trapped in financial dependence
Yeah.
or force them into certain roles.
Exactly.
It's about equal pay, affordable childcare,
Yeah,
access to education, all of these things
for sure.
that empower women to make their own choices.
Precisely. And it's also about changing the narrative. We need to stop telling women
Yeah.
that their primary purpose is to be wives and mothers. We need to celebrate their achievements
Right.
outside of those traditional roles
Yes.
and create a culture that supports their ambitions.
Which brings us back to this idea of transcendence that Beauvoir talks about.
Yeah.
It's not just about escaping our circumstances.
Exactly.
It's about expanding our understanding
Yeah.
of what it means to be a woman.
Yes, and it's about recognizing that we have the power to shape our own destinies.
Right.
It's about choosing how we want to experience time,
Right.
how we want to contribute to the world,
Yeah.
and what kind of legacy we want to leave behind.
That's incredibly empowering.
It is.
It's like she's saying you are not defined by your biology,
Right.
your societal role, or even your past experiences.
Yeah.
You have the power to choose who you want to be.
And that choice
Mm-hmm.
can be revolutionary.
Yeah.
It's about breaking free from those limiting narratives and embracing the full spectrum of,
Right.
human potential.
Okay, so we've talked about
Yeah.
the societal pressures that
Yeah.
women face,
Mm-hmm.
the importance of finding meaningful work,
Right.
and the power of choice.
Mm-hmm.
But Beauvoir doesn't shy away from the more personal aspects of the female experience either, right?
No, she doesn't.
In The Second Sex,
Yeah.
she delves into relationships,
Mm-hmm.
motherhood,
Mm-hmm.
and even her own personal struggles.
Right.
What insights does she offer in these areas?
Well, that's one of the things that makes The Second Sex so compelling.
Okay.
It's blend of philosophical analysis and personal reflection.
Yeah.
Beauvoir doesn't just talk about these issues in the abstract.
Right.
She shares her own experiences, her doubts, her vulnerabilities.
It's like she's inviting us into her inner world,
Yeah.
letting us see how these grand ideas play out in real life.
And by doing so,
Oh.
she makes these complex concepts feel more accessible and relatable. For example, her discussion of romantic relationships.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
And maybe a little controversial even for today.
Right.
We know Beauvoir was in an open relationship
Mm-hmm.
with Jean-Paul Sartre.
Right.
So I'm curious to hear her take
Yeah.
on love and relationships.
She was definitely ahead of her time in many ways.
Okay.
Beauvoir challenges that traditional romantic ideal,
Right.
which often casts women as passive objects of desire
Okay.
and men as the active pursuers.
No damsels in distress waiting to be rescued.
Not exactly.
Okay.
Beauvoir believed that both partners
Yeah.
should be free to pursue their own interests and passions, while also supporting each other's growth and development.
Okay.
It's about recognizing each other as individuals
Right.
with unique needs and desires.
That's pretty radical for the 1940s,
It was.
considering the societal norms of the time.
Yeah, and it's an idea that can still be challenging. Right.
Even today,
Yeah.
think about how many relationships
Mm-hmm.
are still built on those traditional
Right.
gender roles and power dynamics.
Yeah, it's so easy to fall into those patterns,
It is.
even if we're not consciously aware of them.
That's why it's so important
Right.
to be reflective and intentional
Yeah.
about the kind of relationships we want to create.
Mm-hmm.
Beauvoir's work encourages us to examine our own beliefs about love,
Right.
partnership, and equality.
It's about recognizing those subtle ways in which societal expectations can creep into our relationships
Right.
and being willing to challenge them.
And that challenge can be incredibly liberating.
Right.
It's about creating relationships that are truly equal and empowering for both partners.
Okay, so we've covered relationships,
Yeah.
but there's another big topic that Beauvoir tackles head on,
Right.
motherhood.
Well,
It's an area that's often
yeah.
romanticized and loaded with societal expectations.
Yeah. What's her perspective on this complex issue?
Well, Beauvoir approaches motherhood
Yeah.
with incredible nuance.
Okay.
She acknowledges the profound biological and emotional connections involved.
Right.
But she also critiques the ways in which patriarchal societies often use motherhood
Right.
to confine women to the domestic sphere.
It's like she's saying, yes, motherhood can be a powerful experience, but it shouldn't be the only defining aspect of a woman's life.
Exactly. She also points out the immense pressure
Right.
on women to become mothers.
Yeah.
This societal expectation that it's their primary duty and source of fulfillment.
Right.
It's like there's this unspoken message
Yeah.
that you're not a real woman unless you've experienced motherhood.
And that pressure can be so limiting,
It can.
especially for women who might not want children.
Right.
Or who might not be able to have them for various reasons.
Exactly.
Right.
And Beauvoir was adamant that women should have the freedom to choose whether or not to become mothers. That their value as human beings
Right.
shouldn't be tied to their reproductive capabilities.
It's amazing how forward-thinking she was on this issue,
She was.
especially considering the time period.
Absolutely.
And her message is still so relevant today
It is.
as we fight for reproductive rights
Mm-hmm.
and bodily autonomy for women around the world.
Absolutely. And it's a reminder that the personal is political.
Yes.
These decisions about our bodies,
Mm-hmm.
our relationships, our families, they're all intertwined
Right.
with larger societal structures
Yeah.
and power dynamics.
So what can we do to shift those power dynamics?
Right, that's the question.
How do we create a world where women are truly free
Yeah.
to make their own choices, free from those limiting societal expectations?
Well, that's a question we'll delve into
Fair
as
enough.
we continue our deep dive into the second sex.
All right, I'm ready to keep exploring. This is getting really good.
I'm glad to hear it.
Wow, we've been on quite a journey with Simone de Beauvoir's The Second Sex.
Yeah, it really is a remarkable work.
It really is, from woman as other to the myths of the eternal feminine.
Yeah,
It's like she's given us this whole new lens
totally.
through which to view the world.
And it's a lens that's, even more relevant than ever, I think.
Right.
Especially when we consider, like, how women are still portrayed in media and popular culture.
Mm-hmm.
Beauvoir was so sharp
Yeah.
when it came to critiquing the ways
Yeah.
women are often, objectified and reduced to stereotypes.
It's almost like we're still stuck in this time warp
Right.
where women are either like pure or dangerous,
Yeah.
innocent or seductive,
Mm-hmm.
with no room for the vast spectrum of human experience in between.
Right. It's so binary.
Right. Think about how many movies still rely on those tired tropes.
Oh, totally.
The damsel in distress, the femme fatale,
Yeah.
the manic pixie dream girl.
All of this. Like, come on. Haven't we moved past this?
And those representations, I think, have real-world consequences.
Right.
They reinforce those
Yeah.
those harmful ideas about femininity that we've been talking about.
Mhm.
The idea that a woman's worth is tied to
Right.
her appearance,
Right. Her desirability.
your desirability.
Her ability to fit into these predefined boxes.
Exactly.
It's exhausting, that constant pressure
It is.
to conform to these impossible standards of beauty and
Yeah.
behavior can be so damaging
It is.
to women's self-esteem and sense of agency.
Absolutely.
And that's everywhere.
It's pervasive.
From magazines to movies to social media. It's just...
And that's why it's so important, I think,
Right.
to be critical consumers of media.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
need to support content
Right.
that portrays women as complex,
Mm-hmm.
multi-faceted individuals.
Yeah.
Content that celebrates their intelligence, their creativity,
Right.
their strength.
So it's not just about calling out the bad stuff.
It's about like amplifying the good stuff.
Exactly.
Stories that are challenging,
Yeah.
those limiting narratives,
Mhm.
and showing the world the true breadth
Right.
of the female experience.
Exactly. And it also means supporting, I think, women creators.
Yes.
The writers, directors, artists
Mhm.
who are telling their own stories
Yeah.
and shaping the cultural landscape.
Right.
The more diverse voices we have,
Yes.
the more likely we are to,
Yeah.
break free from those tired tropes
Right.
and create a more nuanced and empowering image of women.
But it's not enough to just change the narrative, right?
No, absolutely not.
Beauvoir also emphasizes
Yeah.
the need for systemic change.
Yes.
It's not just about individual choices.
Right.
It's about creating a world where women have equal opportunities
Mm-hmm.
and are supported
Exactly.
in their endeavors.
She's spot on about that.
Right. She talks about the importance of equal access
Yeah.
to education, to
Yeah.
employment opportunities,
Right.
to affordable child care, to health care.
Right.
Like, These are the building blocks
Yeah.
of a society where women can truly thrive.
Absolutely.
Because let's face it, if women are constantly struggling
Yeah.
to make ends meet
Mm-hmm.
or juggling impossible childcare arrangements,
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot harder for them to,
Right.
pursue their passions, break glass ceilings,
Totally.
can contribute to the world in meaningful ways.
And it's not just about women either.
Right.
It's about creating a world
Yeah.
where men are also encouraged
Yeah.
to participate more fully in caregiving
Mm-hmm.
and domestic responsibilities.
Yeah.
It's about sharing those burdens
Right.
and creating a more equitable
Yes.
division of labor,
Right.
both within families
Mhm. Yeah.
and in society as a whole.
So it's a collective effort.
It is.
It's about men and women working together
Yeah.
to dismantle those outdated gender roles and create a more just and equitable world for everyone.
A world where gender is no longer a barrier
Right.
to opportunity or fulfillment. That's
No.
what Beauvoir envisioned.
And it's a vision
Yeah.
that continues to inspire feminist movements around the world.
Absolutely.
But I think, her message resonates
Yeah.
with anyone who's ever felt limited
Totally.
by societal expectations, regardless of gender.
It's a message of hope,
Right.
of resilience, of the power of human agency.
Hmm.
It's about recognizing those forces that shape our lives.
Right.
And choosing to challenge them,
Yes.
to break free from those limitations,
Yeah.
and to create something new.
So as we wrap up our deep dive
Okay.
into the second sex,
Yeah.
what are your biggest takeaways?
I think my biggest takeaway is that Beauvoir's work is as relevant today as it was
Right.
when it was first published.
Yeah.
She gives us this incredible framework
Correct.
for understanding the complexities
Yeah.
of gender and the ways in which
Yeah.
societal forces shape our lives.
And it's a call to action, right?
Yeah.
It's not just a philosophical treatise.
Yeah.
It's a roadmap for creating a more just and equitable world.
Yeah. It's a reminder that we all have a role to play
Right.
in challenging those limiting narratives
Hmm.
and creating a world where everyone can truly thrive.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up
Okay.
this incredible deep dive into the second sex.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you for having me.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
I've enjoyed it.